This will be my first time ever meeting James Brian Cruz, and I'm really excited to see him, especially the circumstances of his freedom. And it's it's just really, I can't even describe the feeling now.
How do you feel? I mean, someone came after you and you're keeping it going. Do you hope that he goes on to do that too?
I know that he's going to. Just like me, we both left a lot of friends behind in prison. So I know he's going to continue on with the fight, and this is just really a great opportunity for us to share. I think I see him, Dolores. Do you see him? Okay. Where is he?
How you doing, Dolores? How you doing? It's good to see you. It's good to see you, girl.
Oh, I can't believe this.
Right?
Glad you made it.
3.5 years later. Time flies, don't it?
Let's go. Seeing someone that I actually helped, I'm going to say save his life and give him a fresh start, a second chance in life. So being here at the airport today is just incredible moment. It's an incredible moment for me. It is such a pleasure to be here today with James Brian Cruz. James, this is our first time meeting each other. Even though I advocated for your freedom, I've heard so much about you through my sister talking to you, but this is really actually our first time sitting down, meeting each other, greeted you at the airport yesterday.
Yeah, it's an honor to be able to meet you and meet your family. It's been such a blessing.
Yeah. James, I'm going to get right into it because you have such a compelling story and you were such a deserving candidate for clemency. You received clemency in January of 2021. In fact, you were one of President Trump's last clemency recipients. But I want to tell you the reason why your case caught my attention and why it touched me so deeply. I know some of the things about you, but I need to tell me your beginnings. How did your life start off? And then tell us also about the tragedies that happened in your life back to back.
So I was born in Dallas, Texas, born and raised. At the age of 4, my mom and my father divorced. So during the summers, I would go live with my father. And in the winters, I would live with my mom and go to school. I really liked living with my dad during the summers because he was a little bit more lenient. My mom was a little bit rougher, but at the age of 15, my father had a heart attack and died at the age of 52. I went into my brother's care, who was just a little bit older than me.
So you were only 15?
Yes, I was 15 years old and went to live with my brother. My brother, 6 months later, died in a tragic car accident.
How old was your brother
He was around 23.
when he died?
Yes, he was 23, and that was kind of like the last caregiver or male figure in my life. And then after that, I was kind of left to defend for myself. Kind of just hung around cousins and friends who were doing wrong, who were making bad choices. And I obviously started making the same bad choices as they were. At the age of 17, I turned to a life that with guys wanting to earn money. And at first it was, movie money, soda money, that kind of stuff. And then just things got, I would say, more and more money accumulated.
I could see how you would get caught up in that.
Yeah, at a very young age, just being around those kind of people, I didn't know where to go, I didn't have nobody to lead me right, and I just got sucked in, kind of.
So I know that was a shock for you to be so young and to be arrested.
Yes, being arrested at the age of 20 is definitely an eye opener. And with that, when I got arrested in 2000 for a conspiracy to distribute methamphetamine, those 2.5 years accumulated a lot of drugs.
Like so many others, you didn't even have drugs on you. It was all testimony, wasn't it?
Yes, ma'am, it was all testimony.
How much did they offer you?
They offered me 10 years.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's something is really wrong when 10 years turn into 40.
In my mind, going to trial was the only thing I could see myself doing. And I was convicted by a jury and given 40 years at the age of 21. I was arrested at the age of 20, but at the age of 21, I was given 40 years to federal prison.
But your life was totally different before you were 17. As you said, you had hardworking parents, and your father died suddenly of a heart attack when you were 15.
Yes, ma'am. My father died when I was 15, and he was my caregiver because my mom and him were divorced since I was little. So I would go back and forth during the summer with my dad, and I would be in the winter with my mom going to school. So when my father passed away in 1991, my brother took over care of me. And then my brother passed away 6 months later. And that kind of left me out.
Yeah, he was in a bad car accident, right?
Yes, ma'am. He was in a bad car accident with my cousin. My cousin survived, but my brother was thrown from the car.
So then now you're left just with relatives, with cousins, and all around you, drugs. It was a drug environment.
Yes, ma'am. The drugs was all around us. Drugs was the main, it would seem normal.
Right. When that's what you're around, it normalizes it. That's what all that you see. You know, I can really see an impressionable teenager getting caught up in something like that. I know sometimes we're hard on ourselves, but I look at your age too and what you were around. You didn't really have anyone to show you a better way. But that does not define the man who you are. So when you went into prison, when you heard that sentence, because I know you went to trial.
Right.
When you heard that you were being sentenced to 40 years in prison, how did that feel?
When the judge read out 480 months, I couldn't comprehend 480 months. I was like, how much time is that? It took me at least 2 hours to process and add up. That was 40 years.
Oh, wow. And really, even though you were 20, you're still very young, still have spent your life. You had some very good years with your father, but for the last 5 years, you lived in a very bad situation, especially once your brother passed away and you're just out there by yourself. Just going through something that devastating, I can just imagine the impact it had on your mind. It's hard to think that 40 years and you're only 20 years old when you're arrested and you're 21 years at 21 you're sentenced to 40 years. You know, I think about, I have children, I love sons here, and I know that devastated the people around you, but the people who were closest to your father and your brother, they were gone.
Yes.
Did they ever offer you any type of a plea deal?
They did offer me a plea deal.
And what did they offer you?
10 years.
So thinking about what was going through your mind at that moment when you were arrested, because you knew that you weren't selling drugs when you got arrested. Someone gave them your name and you became a part of a drug conspiracy, which oftentimes happen. So tell me, why did you choose to go to trial?
I felt because I did not get caught with anything on my possession that they didn't have a case against me.
Didn't know about conspiracy, did you?
No, ma'am. Did not know nothing about the legal system at all.
So what did your attorney advise you?
My attorney said you would probably lose, and the most they'll give you is 20 years. For a young man, 10 years is like an eternity.
Right.
20 years, like, it's worth the fight. but it wasn't worth the fight.
Well, looking back, we never know. I'm sure you had no idea of how this system was set up, this justice system was set up, and that you could end up getting double what you even thought you'd get. When they said 40 years, when you found out you were getting 40 years, you said that it took you a while to process that.
Yes.
Before you received that time in prison, because I know from just your case and hearing testimonies about you from other men in prison with you, you were a very faithful Christian man in prison. When did that change for you? That you accepted, that you leaned into your faith?
So within the year of going or preparing for a trial, volunteers would come into the county jail that I was in, and I heard about Jesus and his forgiveness. And obviously, me having all that baggage, all that I've done wrong, right, by selling drugs, really weighed on me. And I wanted to be forgiven. And I cried out to God to forgive me because of what Jesus did on the cross. And from that moment on, I started to see things different. I started to see the world in a different way compared to what I grew up in and what I grew up around. Because what I grew up around was just whatever's good to you is okay.
Uh-huh.
And I knew that I was able to see by God's grace that wasn't true.
So when you go into prison, faith, you have now become a believer. Some people think that, well, when people go to prison, they get prison religion.
Right.
That it's just a get me out of jail. It's fake. It's not real. But you've proven honestly that this was it's real for you. And wherever you meet him at, that's where you meet him at.
That's life changing, yes. That's definitely true. God will rescue you in your circumstance, wherever your circumstance is. Whether it be in prison, for me it was for prison. And yes, you have people who play the part, I would say. But I'm grateful that I didn't encounter a true and living God. And from that day forward, moving on, as I said before, it was life changing. Life changing that God would see me and choose me. That's, for me, the way I'm built in my character. Somebody putting special attention to me is like, what? Me? Even though I've done all that, and the word says, yeah, you. And so that just melted my heart, if I could say that.
Yes. So prison became your new beginning in life.
Yes, prison was a new beginning. Learning the first couple of years of prison life, of what not to do, right? And what to do. Who to hang around with, and what not to, the people to hang around with. Because for a young man with 40 years, there's a couple of things you could do in prison. You can either kill yourself, you can run with the crowd, or in my case, walk the walk that you say that you are. And that's what I did. I walked the walk that I said I was a part of, and I'm a Christian.
You're a believer for sure. Having a 40-year sentence, because as I was reading your case, that really struck me how you took classes, even though you didn't really have a short out date that was near in the future. Tell me, why did you start taking so many classes?
Because I have never taken the time to educate myself. Remember, growing up, it's avoid school. Don't do school, Why are you going to go to school? There's so much better things out here than school. And so in my new life, what I did not do before, what I denied before, I was going to do the opposite. That was good. So education for me was like, okay, I need to do this. I need to accomplish these things because I don't have these things. And what if one day, or when I do get out, remember my release date would have been 2034. I would have been 55 years old. I have to prepare myself for that. Or if anything ever happens, and I'm so glad it did happen, then I would be prepared.
What were some of the classes that you took?
So I took air conditioning, I took automotives. So I covered all the areas that I could cover. Woodwork, computer classes. I mean, I was 2 years in the prison, and I was taking Microsofts and typing and keyboarding, and I had a hunger, I had a desire with my new change.
Well, it sounded like you were determined that whenever you came out, you weren't going to be the same
No,
man who went into prison.
no, I was not going to be. There was not going to be an excuse for me to fail, at all.
And you already knew that you never wanted to go back into selling drugs, that was over.
Right, because it destroys our community. It destroys people, and I did not want to continue to be a part of that.
Understand? Now, you've been described by many who you were in prison with as their mentor, as the one who, when new prisoners came into the door, you were right there with care packages, trying to make sure that they were okay. Tell me something about that.
So in prison, everybody wants to help somebody, but there's a price sometimes when somebody helps you. But as a believer, there's no, well, you got to give back to me or you got to pay me back. And there's people that go to prison needing help, needing direction, whether it be spiritually, which I'm an advocate for, but also for physical, just necessary stuff, how to navigate through the system, how to navigate if it's their first time, how to navigate, what do I do in the morning? What do I do throughout the day? And I love being intentional with people. I love being around people, and I flourish around doing things like that. And it was like a perfect job for me. And as men came, I would direct them, encourage them to go to church, obviously, right? But also to give them a care package. And a lot of people would be reluctant. No, I'm okay. I'm good. I've heard the stories. You're going to want something back from me. And it's like, no, this is from the church. This is for you.
And it's from your heart, too.
And it's from your heart. And I guess, sometimes they see the genuine in people. Mm-hmm. They could see. And obviously they would take it. 9 times out of 10, people would take it.
That really paid off for you in a big way. Can you tell me about the man who would be your, I'm not going to say your saint, who would become the person who would hire an attorney for you? Tell me about how that came to pass.
So I met Tom, and a little after I met Tom, I invited him to church. We had a good little 5-6 minute conversation, and I invited him to church. We were going to have service on a Saturday, and Tom went. It was his first time ever in prison. He never thought that he would end up in prison, and we spent 6 months together fellowshipping and doing ministry there at the prison. And one day when Tom got out, Tom said, I'm going to do whatever I can to get you a lawyer and hopefully to get you out of prison. And that is exactly what he did. He got me a lawyer. The lawyer advocate to you, which I'm so grateful for. And here I am today because you advocated to President Donald J. Trump, and who I'm so grateful for and thankful for. He's visited our church, and I was like 6 rows away from him, and I'm like, how can I work for the church also. How can I scream and say, hey, Donald Trump, thank you? But at the same time, I had to bite my tongue and just, hopefully one day I would be able to tell him in person or through a video that I'm so grateful to your organization and for him giving me another opportunity to do life as it's supposed to be.
A very interesting part of your story is the attorney that Tom got for you. You found out later that this was the DA or the prosecutor.
Yes.
Who was on your case.
Yes. And
now this prosecutor has been hired by Tom to be your defense lawyer.
Isn't that amazing?
That's amazing.
That's wonderful. I was I was taken back when I seen his name. So many things ran into my mind through my mind, but it just shows how God was in this story and is in this story, and how things come about even at the last minute.
At the last minute. Well, I'm going to tell you your case. When your attorneys reached out to my organization, Taking Action for Good, to inquire as to would we help you, would we advocate for your freedom, as soon as we received your packet, I had Dolores, who was working with Taking Action for Good, and I would give different people in my organization assignments because we were on crunch time. And their assignment was to help me vet, to read through the cases, to give me a synopsis of it, and then bring it to me and let me personally look at it. From the day that she saw your case, she became your biggest advocate. She was your defender. Every time someone else, there was anyone else, any talk of clemency, she'd say to me, "What about James Brian Cruz? What about James Brian Cruz?" So there were some heroes within my organization who really took to heart the cases that we were working on. Your case, when your attorneys, I can say that they put together an outstanding package for you. And just the way that you were presented in a human light, that really touched my heart. The things that you had done in prison to help other people. And really, a big part of this, too, was that they believed in you so much. And for you to have someone who was a prisoner themselves come out of prison because you were kind to him. We never know which way our blessings are coming.
Right.
You were kind to him and made sure that he was first time in prison, and
Yes.
you helped him.
Yeah.
And so, people make promises that when I get out, I'm going to do this. They forget about you.
Yeah.
But Tom never forgot about you.
No.
And he invested in you. And he showed you that he was also real by hiring an attorney for you. That group, that attorney group that you had, they were constantly checking on you. I had the privilege to be able to go into the Oval Office and speak personally with President Trump and advocate for the freedom of others. Your case, from the time I got it, I was advocating for your freedom. James, your case was an 11th hour miracle. It was during the very last days of the Trump administration that Ivanka Trump and I teamed up together to help get the last clemency applicants across the finish line. And yours was one of those. When I received the call from Ivanka that James Brian Cruz paperwork had been signed, there was a shout that went up everywhere, all through my organization, because we had truly been fighting hard for you. Ivanka really is an unsung hero in your case because she rolled up her sleeves and she went to work.
Well, from the bottom of my heart, I definitely want to thank Ivanka for allowing me to have a second opportunity with my family and my new family that's going to come in October. So I'm very grateful.
Well, she would really appreciate that because she worked hard. She and I worked on 23 of the clemency cases together, and we saw success. It really was more than that. We weren't able to help everyone, but 23 of the people who received clemency were cases that Ivanka and I worked on at the very end to help those people rejoin their families.
You never lose hope in a sense because you gain everything already. I had gained everything even in a prison. I had gained God. And I, at one time, cried out to God after I exhausted all my appeals. If this is where you want me, this is where I'm going to be, and I'm going to invest in men that are hurting and who need hope. I get my hope from the source. There's men that have no hope in prison. I wouldn't say I wasn't ruffled, but not lose hope.
Man, and I'm sure that your release inspired many others in that prison. Tell me about the day that what the reaction was on the yard when it was announced that you were going home.
When I left that prison, we're in a pod, not a pod, we're in a block about, we say, almost 200 people.
Okay.
Almost 200 people. It was a Unicorn dorm. We all worked in Unicorn, and it was right before time to go to work. I believe it was a Tuesday morning, January the 20th, about 6, 7 o'clock. Everybody knows by now. I done went around and shook everybody's hand because I got to leave at about 8, 8:30. And as I walk out those doors, I'm looking towards my door to exit the building. And I just feel that I have to look back. And as I turn back, the whole dorm is clapping. But that's only to give glory to God in the sense that the people that I was with was people that I invested in, that people that shared their stories with me, that we did time together and somewhat of a family.
Yes. You know, people in prison, they are our families. We're separated from our families and we bond together. So I understand fully how that bond is because I left so many behind. James, I think that one of the most important things that you've done since you've been home is be an example of what it looks like to get a second chance and use that second chance to be a productive citizen. What are you doing today?
So today I work at a church at First Baptist Dallas. I also attend Southwestern Baptist Theological Seminary. I'll be starting Tuesday, so I'm getting ready for that. And I also do prison ministry. I go to 2 different prisons during the week. And besides that, being about to be a dad, I have gotten married 18 months, successfully, happily married. And that's what I want to continue to invest in men that are in prison. I want to continue to show them, to be an example, right? That it is very possible with another chance, with all the opportunities that the BOP offers, you can make it out here. I make it out here with what I learned in there. I'm putting those things into practice now in the outside world.
So, really, a strong message to those who are incarcerated is to prepare yourself for a future.
Yes.
Take the classes, get educated. As for you, you were educated in prison, you were prepared in prison, and you came out and you put those skills to good use. And now you're about to be a proud father. You see, you're having a little girl.
Yes, having a little girl.
You already had one son before you went in.
Yes, ma'am.
You said, how old was your son?
My son was about 2.5 years old.
And so now you get a chance to be in the life of your daughter from birth and to help mold her into the woman who you want her to be as a good father. And I really commend you with that. And congratulations again on your marriage. Congratulations on becoming a new father. And just congratulations to you, James, on going out there and setting the bar and showing people, showing the world what a second chance looks like. And every time you and I are out doing the things that we do,
Right.
it really helps those who are still incarcerated because people don't need to forget that criminal justice reform is extremely important. And
Yes.
it's very important to not forget about those people who are still locked behind bars. So it's up to you and I to represent them and to be their voices and to continue to advocate for their freedom.
That is very true. Because when they see us, there's no reason they can't make it.
That's right.
You had a life, I had a 40. It's just like a life.
Right. 40 years for a 20-year-old,
Right.
21, almost 21-year-old had to seem like life. But you still did a long time. You did 21 years in prison. That's a long time. But I see before me a man now who President Trump would be very proud of, that he believed in you enough to give you that second chance. James, if you were standing in front of President Trump right now, what would you say to him?
I would tell him thank you for seeing past the person that I was and seeing the person who I was when I was in front of him, being advocated for, and the changed man that I had become. I would tell him thank you for giving me that second opportunity. And my actions, I hope and I pray, will show that he made the right decision for a person like me. And there's many people like me that are left behind. And I can't vote right now, but I definitely can be a voice for him to other people, because justice reform needs to be continued. It's good to be firm, but President Trump is also wise in his decision making when it comes to criminal reform.
You know, there's a saying, there's a scripture in the Bible that mercy triumphs over judgment. We all want grace, right? And I just pray that people will look at people like yourself and like myself and know that we're not the only ones who deserve that second chance.
Right.
So really, criminal justice reform cannot go away. They have to remember that these are human beings and they have families out there who love them and care for them, who are waiting for them to have their second chance like we had. So, James, I thank you so much for making good use of your second chance and really being, I'm going to say, a role model out here for being a picture of what a real second chance looks like and what it looks like to have someone who is out there doing the things that you're doing, being such a integral part of your community, and being such a man who is out there giving hope to others. You told me about how you were going and doing prison ministry now. You have an impact that people who've never gone to prison, who are doing prison ministry, they don't have that, because you're one of them. I'm one of them.
And I want to thank your organization, TAG, Taking Action for Good, because it's giving us that opportunity, and hopefully many, many more with the upcoming years and ahead of you and your organization.
Thank you, James.
And I want to thank Trump and Ivanka, and I just thank you. And as far as what I've accomplished, it's only because of y'all, because y'all advocated for me.
Someone believed in me.
Right.
Someone believed in me, and I'm passing it on. I'm paying it forward because I have to do it. I've been given a platform and the ability to advocate, and I can't stop. God gave me my purpose also in prison, James, and that was to be the voice for those who are not able to use their voice, to be a face.
Right.
So I'm very grateful for that, and I just want to thank you too for coming out. James is one of many who have made very good use of their second chance, and it is my prayer that there will be many more to come who will be given the opportunity of freedom.